Tonight?
Tonight.
After
as soon as
this?
this meeting is over.
I'll be quick. I'll go quick.
At least I hope.
Now, I don't have to hope the problem's on the outside unit, but
Yeah.
I just figure it's going to be in the attic.
Prepare for the worst, hope for the best.
Yep.
All right.
Are you ready?
Yep, it's on.
Start the meeting of June 26, 2017 of Lawrenceburg Redevelopment Commission. Mr. Mesmore, you want to go ahead?
I'm going to yield to Mr. Weldon. He's going to start, and I'm going to wait on Ms. Norris
Okay.
for my,
Oh, I'm sorry. Roll call.
Director Brian Messmore.
here.
Chairman Tony Abbott.
Here.
Vice Chairman Aaron Cook is absent. Secretary Dennis Hutchins.
Present.
Member Paul Seymour Sr.
Present.
Member Bob Rybolt is absent. Lawrenceburg School Board Member Brian Johnson is absent. And City Attorney Del Weldon.
Here.
Mr. Welton.
Thank you, Your Honor. If it pleases the commission, a few things that I wanted to go over to follow up with from the last couple meetings. One, a new item from today, 519 Martin Luther King Drive is a property that we offered for sale to Randy Hawkins for development. We did a purchase agreement with Mr. Hawkins, and he has not attended the closing yet. He signed the purchase agreement on March 30th. And so I got a good suggestion today to give him 30 days, if it pleases the commission, to follow through with the closing. If not, then we can nullify the contract. The contract really lasts only 30 days, so he's passed already. But if we want to give him 30 days to close it, and if not, we'll just put it back up, make it available for others.
Glad you brought that up, because I was going to bring it up at the next meeting. I was wondering what was going on with that property.
Where did the suggestion come from?
Ms. Seymour. I thought it was a good one. But any variation that you guys would like?
Well, if you look back at that presentation that he made that night, I'm not sure his financing was secured at that point.
Okay.
And we might have,
was not,
we might have, let me finish, please, Mr. Chairman. We might have overlooked it that night,
Yeah.
but I'm not sure he had satisfied his financial obligation for us to.
Was he not supposed to come back with a better drawing of the house and the finance, or
If I remember
to
correctly.
finish that with you?
Yeah.
Because it really wasn't finished.
You printed off a printer. That's what you did.
Yeah. And
It's far from what you guys, you asked for a letter.
We did.
yeah, I wouldn't disagree with that. And I know there were also, I think he had, if I remember right, I think he had two different designs because he wanted two lots. And we ended up flipping the lots because he wanted the one and the one next to it. So, and to be honest, I mean, we don't even have to give him 30 days.
Well, I would like to make a recommendation for discussion, and that is that because he hasn't come back with his credit update for us, and because he hasn't responded in this time period, I think we should advise him that he is forfeiting his opportunity to go forward. Should he want to reapply, he's welcome to do so.
Okay. And Mr. Hutchins, do you want me to make that effective immediately?
That would be my recommendation.
Okay.
We need that in motion.
Yes, please.
So that's your motion then?
And that is my motion, Mr. Chairman.
So I have a motion by Dennis to revoke the agreement with Mr. Hawkins. Do I have a second?
I'm not going to second that because I just don't think he's interested anymore. It doesn't sound like it to me from what I just heard. I say we close it off.
That's what
my
my
motion
So
is.
if you second it, that's what we're doing.
My motion is
Second,
that we
well, why
revoke
don't
it.
you just say
I
that?
have a second by Mr. Seymour.
Hold on, have a sip of water.
Now, do I vote on? So all in favor? Aye. Ayes have it. Motion passed.
It's a good thing there
I
wasn't
didn't
more.
hear that from what he said.
Hey, Dennis, so I have, first you said that we advise him that he is forfeiting his offer, and then you kind of modified it and said that we're revoking his agreement. Would you like me to put both in there?
You can choose either one you want. I meant that
Okay.
we're revoking his opportunity to
Got it.
have that lot.
Okay,
And if he wants to reapply, feel free to come back and look for another lot.
Right. Makes sense?
Or the same lot.
Or the same, if it's available, right?
Yep.
Fair enough.
I would have said.
Mr. Weldon, anything else?
I know you would have. That's why I jumped
Yes,
in.
I have the funding agreement that was modified with Premier Energy, so I just wanted to show you, give you guys a copy of the modification. If you'll look at paragraph 4, that paragraph has been modified to reflect the fact that Premier Energy will not own the building, they're only going to be leasing it. We keep a copy for you, Ms. Moore.
Yes, please, thanks.
Is this a lot different than the one you gave us before?
It's not, it just
Okay.
has a minor change, and so what I'll be asking from John Stenger is a alternative security to secure the amount and secure the loan in case of repayment, if repayment becomes necessary. So that's reflected in paragraph 4. There won't be a lien on the building because they don't own that. They'll have to provide a different way to secure it, and I'll meet with John and take care of that if that's okay with the commission.
Do we need a motion to accept this agreement then?
No, sir, Your Honor. And with all these, if there are any questions, let me know.
You are going through that whole stack, aren't you?
I'm doing it fast.
That's a thick pile over there, sir.
The next thing is the final version of the Downtown Lawrenceburg Small Business Action Grant Program. And I just wanted to put this on everyone's radar because it's the version that I brought to the last meeting, but I added the conditions that the commission wanted added and made the changes and kind of simplified it. So as long as this looks okay, I'll get this to Pat Kreider and she's going to start immediately. We'll get the money funded, the seed money, and we'll have the.
Again, Del, any major changes from the last one?
This one is different.
Oh, it is?
Just because our discussion kind of made some changes to the document.
Let me
that I
have a
brought.
minute. Let's take a minute.
Yeah, but it should be an exact reflection of the vote that we took.
Okay, so I got one question here,
Yes, sir.
how this is worded, whether it's, down here says, all equipment purchased shall be immediately surrendered to Lawrenceburg Main Street for sale and reimbursement of grant. Now, do we deduct the price of the equipment that was sold,
We would,
or do we collect the full grant plus the equipment?
we just take the equipment and sell it, and then we keep the money and deduct that from what they owe
Okay,
us.
so
So all we
that's-
hope is that it'll be enough to pay us back.
Let me give you a hypothetical, though.
Sure.
She does a 75/75 match, and she purchases equipment only. She goes out of business. How do we break that up?
We take all of the equipment and sell it.
Even the money that she's put in?
Yeah, that's what they have to agree to. And that's why I made it specific
All
to
right.
just the equipment, and we didn't go into labor and rent and
Okay.
those kind of things. So they have to make that agreement so that will be
I guess
secured.
that's teeth in the game, isn't it?
It's teeth in the game, and if it sells for any more than the $7,500, they would, of course, get that money back.
I'm all right with that.
Okay. Any other questions on this?
Well, item 2, it says the business invests at least $15,000 and then is eligible up to $7,500 reimbursement. What if they invest less?
They only get half of that.
Okay, that's fine. I
Yeah.
just wanted that clarified.
Yeah, 15 is
So
the
it says
cap.
for up to 7,500.
It was the at least that got me. All right.
Yeah, let me take a look at that.
The language on that bothers me a little bit.
And Dennis, where is that?
Second item.
Second one.
Second
So,
bullet point, I'm sorry.
okay, it should be, up to, I think you're right.
Yeah,
I'll
it
change that.
bothers me.
Gonna say, because by saying that, they had to put in at least 15,000 in order to be eligible for the grant.
Yeah, that's a good point. So up to 15.
As long as
up
we
to-
take the at least out, I'm fine with it.
So it should be up to both times.
That's correct.
Okay.
Okay, other than that, I'm all right with this.
Okay. Anybody else?
Motion to accept this, or?
We made it already. We already made the motion. I just want to make sure I got it
You okay
down.
with
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Seymour's okay with it, too, so.
Awesome, thank you, guys. The very last thing that I have, and the rest of this big stack, is just, we talked last time about purchasing unsafe buildings. We've got 305 West Center as the first one that would be kind of eligible for this. I will say that the Indiana legislature, effective July 1st, has enacted legislation that gives redevelopment commissions more authority to do exactly that. It gives them it gives us specific statutory authority to buy condemned, unsafe, foreclosed, abandoned properties. And it changes our procedure to where if we pay $25,000 or less for a piece of property, we don't even have to get it appraised. So it really contemplates kind of doing exactly what we're thinking about doing. The reason this came up is because this is a building that's been in the unsafe building protocol. The next step would be condemnation and demolition. It's very much in need of demolition. It's 305 West Center. I think you guys are all familiar with it. Mr. Messmore and Ms. Brookbank had it appraised. The average of the two appraisals was $16,250. We offered $5,000, and that was accepted by the joint owners. But after preparing for a closing, we learned that there were certain liens on it, and I was asked to bring back those lien amounts. So what I would like to present today would be an option to pay the $5,000, keep that the same, but also pay the liens, and the liens total $8,700.52.
What was that amount again?
$8,700.52.
Thank you.
That does include Lawrenceburg Municipal Utilities lien.
Was that the 500 and something?
Yeah,
only?
I'm sure you'll drop
582.
that for us, won't you?
Bill, what was the general basic makeup of the 7,800? Other than the 532.50 for
Yeah.
utilities?
So we have two criminal cases that had some kind of fees or fines unpaid. We had a collection agency case, an insurance case, a Sycamore gas lien, and then 4 personal property tax liens, and that gave us that total.
So we're at what total now?
The total, including
13.
the utility lien, is $8,752 plus $5,000, so $13,700.52. And it would give us that property free and clear of liens and encumbrances, and then we would demo it. And then we'd have the lot open for development, and of course, we know that we have an interested builder already.
How much will it be for us to tear it down? Did we have an estimate on that?
When we took,
10?
yeah, 10 to 15 is about what we were looking at with 440 Walnut. And, Angels Excavating was able to get in there and do a demo where we were really tight with other buildings. They did a lot of it by hand. They did a really good job, so we would bid that out, of course.
Is it, in your opinion, that these two particular liens that are the biggest, there's really nothing we could do to make them satisfy that before we got this done? It would hold it up?
It won't hold it up, but we do have to pay them. There's no way to get rid of them. They're proper liens, they're validly recorded, and we can't avoid them.
Well, I can tell you, as one member, I'm particularly in favor of, if we have to pay this, we should pay it.
Okay.
And move forward.
But I've got a question. The only people that were here was the brother, and then his daughter and husband at the meeting?
He was here.
But son.
But what about the sister? Now, I've heard that there's a sister involved.
There is a sister, and she has signed a purchase contract.
She has?
Agreed to, yeah. I have a signed purchase agreement at my
So
office.
she's waived off on the 5,000.
She's okay with it, yeah.
Okay.
Is that 5,000 apiece or just the 5,000?
Just 5,000.
All right, okay.
Split it however
However they
Figure.
decide to settle it. But the liens we're going to have to live with.
Yeah,
if we want
I
to.
understand.
And I think it's a property that we need to fix on Center Street. I think it's important.
Well, the impression that I'm getting from the potential developer is that as soon as we get demoed and and available that it'll be developed. So
He's
it'll be flipped
very,
pretty
very
quickly.
interested, right?
Yeah, which is incredible.
Okay.
So if it's okay with you guys, I will proceed with that.
Do you need a motion, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, please. I would want a motion on that.
I would make a motion that we include the two liens of a total of $8,700.50 with the $5,000 to a $13,700.52, that we purchase it and move forward with demolition.
And closing costs.
And closing costs, that's correct.
Thank you.
Motion by
And it
Lawson.
also, that includes the utilities.
Yes, sir.
I'll second that.
Second by Paul, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion passed.
You're welcome.
Thank you. I have the liens here, if you guys want to see them, and I have the appraisals too.
No, but I would like to see the new Indiana law that allows us to purchase without appraisals, up to $25,000.
I'll pull that up for you before
Thank
we
you.
leave tonight.
Thank you.
Dennis, I have that in email as well. I can send it to you.
Is that all for you,
Yep, I
Mr.
got it in an
Weldon?
email from Brittany, I think next
I
week.
thought I had a copy with
Copy?
me, but I don't. I brought
The
two.
email, so I
two
can
more
email
things
it to
real quick.
you tonight if you want.
So I don't need it, Kelly's got it.
She's got it? Awesome.
She'll send it to me.
Yeah. And then, just in regard to this project specifically, it seems the answer is yes, but do you want me to bring to you properties like this that are in the unsafe, abandoned, distressed?
I think we should look at it.
Regime. And what we'll do is we'll work in conjunction with the building department. We'll still give them notice, ask them to fix it, send them a ticket, try to get them to fix it, take them to court, try to get them to fix it, and then if it's
Let's not
kinda jammed
encourage
up-
anybody to use redevelopment for these things.
Exactly.
But, yeah.
I think it's good to have that, I think it's good to have this as that overall process, because we have made some good progress. The very last thing, Your Honor, and if it pleases the commission, we were able to finalize, or we're close to finalizing, the dedication, rededication, vacation over at the dollar store. So we've already given the property from redevelopment to the city. Now we're vacating those tail ends to those parcels, so that'll add on to the individual property owners' lots, and that's almost complete. So I want to let you guys know that.
Do we need to send all those people our Christmas address for our cards?
I think so.
It's a nice little present they're getting.
It is, but we're going to get at least one garage out of it, and
Sure.
it's working out well. So thank you, guys. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Mesmore, you have the floor.
That Center Street property almost sounds like the relationship between the port and the ELT.
Yeah, exactly.
Just waiting for it to get cleaned up so we can buy it, right?
Yep, same
Get
thing.
this. You'll need this right here.
All right. Okay, what we're going to get into now is Kathleen is here from Urban Fast Forward. That's correct, right? Did I have that right?
That is absolutely
correct. And she brought John. And in order to try to get the most out of tonight and move forward, what I thought I would do is just very quickly review our current work in process, some of the properties around our community that we have highest and best use definitions for, the Lotus property, Maple Street, those kind of places, and allow Kathleen and John to hear a little bit more about what we have as a community plan or thinking about. And then upon conclusion of that 15 minutes, just basically pitch the ball back to Kathleen and say, you know, hey, now you know a little bit more about what we do. You've been to town a couple times. If you believe that, you know, there's value in this relationship, that she perhaps may make a proposal to us in the future for some service if we see that need. So that's kind of the purpose of tonight, to review this for ourselves so we're on the same page, as well as a little bit bigger picture for Kathleen, and then from that point forward, see where it takes us.
I would like to ask if we could ask Kathleen to come to the podium beforehand and tell us after we do this.
Well, Dennis, how about
Well,
we go through the review
Why
of our
don't you let me
property?
finish my question? And then
Because-
we can decide whether or
Because,
not.
Dennis, this is our agenda. We're going to go through the review of the property. Kathleen's going to hear what property we have, and then she will better know how to
I heard
answer
that
our
when
questions.
Mr. Messmore told us,
Okay.
Tony. But I have a question. After we've gone through our city properties with someone, what is the way that you would normally handle this?
Well, that's why that she would make a proposal and give us an idea of what she thinks that relationship might be. It could be consulting, there could be any number of ways, but she will provide to us, at the end of this, not tonight, in the next 30 to 60 days, maybe a proposal where she believes how she can add value to what we're trying to accomplish.
Well, here's the
Take that under
reason
review.
I asked the question. I'll be a bit more specific if you don't mind. We are working on the civic park specifically. We have formed a steering committee. We have hired a company under RSQs. We received their qualifications. We chose them. We've started the process of working on that park. Is that park going to be discussed with Kathleen tonight?
No.
Oh, it's not? Okay,
Well, I mean, she knows what we're doing there, but we're not asking her to design the park for us.
okay.
We're asking her to
No,
look at
I
our
wasn't,
community.
I wasn't suggesting that, Brian.
We're asking her to look at our community, listen to what we have going on, and see if there may be a fit, a relationship that we can develop that
Okay.
may benefit both parties.
Okay.
Please continue.
Thank you. I'm just going to rip through these. Some of this is very familiar to us. I'm not asking for any action. And if some of these we're going to need to take a little bit deeper look at together at a future work session. First thing I will discuss is what we refer to as the Lotus property. That's the property with all the telephone poles on it. That property is 2.5 acres. What we believe the highest and best use for that is multifamily, most likely multi-story apartment and/or condos, 150 units kind of thing. We've had a couple proposals, or not even proposals, a couple ideas thrown at the city over the past couple years. It has never been appraised. So we would have to do that, number one. Then we would have to, I believe, probably have a little work session and start to decide how we want to advertise this thing, and build some boundaries for that. How many, what size, what kind of incentive program are we going to put out there for people to respond to that can provide what we're looking for? Okay?
Mm-hmm.
It has not even been appraised. The second thing,
So we have nothing on that property right now?
we have no appraisals on that
I
property.
mean, we have no proposals on that property right now?
We have a couple drawings, but they're not proposals. The one drawing was from Maxwell back in,
It's been a while.
been a while.
Administration.
Yeah, very similar to the one that we got here recently. It was 150 units,
170.
170. What was the ask on that? To make the numbers work, it was like a $10 million investment from us or something like that. So anyway, just let me step back a minute on that too, by the way. We have a lot of work in process. We have a lot of money committed to this, the Park Plaza and a few other things around town. I haven't asked the board for permission to pursue anything else for lots of reasons. I think we need to focus on the block we're on, and as we get that thing rolling and we're confident that we know what we have invested and where we're going with that, then we choose as a committee on what we want to bring in as our next project. So that's how I think we should pursue this. I don't know that we want to have investments, unknown investments all over the town. So the next thing I'm going to talk about is this block project. This is 4th and Main. You guys gave me permission to pursue that block. There were a couple houses that were very deteriorated, so to speak. In the meantime, we did not do any appraisals because we did not want to do anything until we were sure all property owners wanted to participate. And during that process, a private citizen bought one of those houses and is preparing to remodel it.
Which
So,
one?
522 Main. So,
The
My-
very first one we were interested, I have one question
Yeah.
for you here, the second house next to it, should we go through that one to be condemned?
Dell, that's 518. I wasn't prepared to make any comments on that. What I was asking the board, or was going to suggest to the board tonight, since we have a private interest in that property, that we not pursue the block at this time.
And if I may, Your Honor, 518 is in litigation. First of all, there's no owner.
I
and
think
second
that
of all,
was
it's in
just
litigation.
settled, I think it was settled like 3 days ago or so.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
I'll check into that.
It was settled.
So, anyway, since there's, a private interest in a parcel there, it kind of defeats the purpose of searching for that block, so I was not going to put any more effort into trying to build that block right now.
Okay.
Or-
Just for curiosity,
Yeah.
where do we stand with United Community Bank on the end piece?
It's still there. United Community Bank still owns it.
I understand, but is there any number involved with them at all, or?
No.
Okay.
No, I didn't pursue anything until I was sure that I didn't want to do 2 appraisals and then have 2 people not want to participate.
I just didn't know
Yeah.
if that was one of those properties that EG has told us what they have tied up in there.
Yeah. I mean, it's still there.
Okay.
The next piece of property is what we refer to as the Derby Plaza. It is a 2.9 acre parcel. It's located very close to our, right next to the adult center and in the park area there. We all know this. It's next to Tate Street, or what's that park called?
Tate
Todd
Street
Creek.
Park.
Yeah. I think we've discussed mixed use, multi-use. I think we've, talked about, storefronts, maybe office. It's kind of close to business over there. I jokingly said the other day, I'd like to see the best 18-hole course in the whole world there. Not sure it's the right thing, but I don't know. It may be the best thing, maybe. Who
Sounds
knows?
like fun.
Huh?
Sounds like fun.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? So, but anyway, that property has not been appraised, so we would have to, and again, in another work session, we'll talk about that, but, again, I think we got to think about how we want to advertise that property. I think we want to advertise it with an end in mind.
One that Marshall came to us on.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So, just,
Has he knocked on your door recently?
no. Okay. So, again, nothing done on that. Nice piece of property. Need to keep it on our radar sites.
Got a lot of money tied up in that.
Yeah, we do. Okay, the next one I have is the Maple Street properties. These are basically 2 blocks of what once were residential properties. We have had some soils contamination issues with those properties, and what we've been instructed is that that property could be residential and/or commercial if it was covered in
Containment.
containment in blacktop and/or concrete. So we've talked about senior housing. With senior housing, we might be able to find some tax credit opportunities to find a developer who has experience.
So the bottom line there, for their benefit in the back, is kids can't play in the yard there
Yeah,
because of it would cost a fortune to
to remediate.
uneradicate, yeah.
But so something like the Edenberg, or, not to use that as the example, but some
No.
apartments and/or senior housing, Tony?
That's exactly what we're in need of. I mean, we've had a Durham County study showed that we are way low on senior housing, way low. And we have the Edinburgh there, and how long is that list to get in there?
It's long.
And you're getting old.
That's right. About,
For yourself.
so that's a great idea. I'm really interested in getting some senior housing there.
So that has been appraised. And I don't know, Dell, if you combine all those properties into one piece, does that require a different sort of appraisal? I don't know if it matters, but
We would appraise it as we want to sell it.
Okay, so we,
How much property do we have left there now? Three lots, basically?
There's quite a few lots. I would like to keep the lot on Center Street for another house to go in there. I think we still have plenty of room for a senior building and a parking lot for it, don't you?
I will make that note
You
and,
can vacate the alley that goes across there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So-
Yep.
you got that, Kelly?
Keep the lot on Center?
The
Yeah.
one up front.
Okay.
That's actually, there's more than one lot there, I think.
It's three. Four. if you count
Just
the
on
one.
Center Street.
But again, I think in that situation that we would, probably, I think that's a big enough, probably investment and, one-shot kind of the right thing for us, that we would probably need to have a work session and spend some time figuring out, how should we approach that? Because if we're going to advertise it, the respondent may need that property to make it the best it can be, or may not.
Well, that's true, but all I'm thinking is, right across the street, those houses have all been remodeled. We're getting ready to tear
We want
down
them to
one,
take that into
tear one
consideration.
down, and build another new one right there, so that's just kind of.
That's a good point.
Leads into the ones across the street. There's at least 2 lots there on Center Street that we could probably, 3 of them, think we
Yeah,
can
they
get 3
run this
homes in
way.
that?
They run parallel with Center, I think.
Yeah, so I would like to
Yeah.
keep some spaces for some homes there.
Okay.
And still have plenty, that's a whole quarter of a block plus an alley that we could put the seniors in.
Why don't we just save the railroad track and put the senior housing in the front?
I would like to get rid of that railroad track, but we got rid of one, we can't get rid of both of
No,
them.
we're not gonna get rid of this one.
But I do, we don't have, the good thing about tonight is we don't have a lot of time to talk about some of this stuff in
Right.
regular meetings, so this is good to get everybody's feel, so, it's worthy. Okay, I'm gonna switch to this sheet right now, this big sheet. And I'm gonna, right in the center, it's labeled Walnut Street Public-Private. And I just want to remind everyone of that potential project. That is
Andy's.
pardon me?
That Andy's.
Yeah, that's correct. That's one where the potential developers have a contract, is that a right, option on a redevelopment piece of property with the intent on a $3 to $6.5, $7 million investment. Retail, first floor, office, possible residential, this is all at the front of Walnut Street.
And the possibility of a garage, maybe.
And because of that number of retail establishments and that configuration, there would be a parking problem on Walnut Street that there not already is. So the ask and the very preliminary evolvement of this project is that if we were to participate, it may be in the parking lot, at the parking garage level. And right now, that is just a bottom floor there next to the ball fields and the other parking lots, and it would probably require some access to Walnut Street.
I was just going to mention to Kathleen, that sits in front of the ball fields, kind of, but it sits directly across from the Catholic Church on Walnut Street, just so you know where it is. The entrance to Walnut.
So, again, the initial city commitment, or not commitment at this point, but
But we made a commitment to giving him time.
No, we just said we will not sell it for so
We made a
long.
commitment to time.
Yeah.
well, we can look closer. We don't have any
That's-
cost estimates on garages. We haven't, I don't
But we
believe
already
we voted
voted
to
on,
spend
right,
any
Dale?
money on a garage or anything.
Well-
Mr. Lowe Miller asked for a year or 2 years, and I think there was a commitment made.
Nah, there's no commitment for anything except that we would not sell it to somebody else for so long. And that's what's written up, right, Dale?
That's right.
Yeah.
You guys are
We
both
agree,
right.
yeah.
There's a 1-year option contract. The reason it hasn't moved forward is Mr. Lowmiller was deployed. He's reserves. He got deployed and that set the project back, but he's still interested as far as I know.
Okay.
And also, he was going to try to work out some things with the other owner there.
Yeah, in the corner, yeah. So, but again, just my appeal here is to remember that that's a significant investment on the city's behalf if we were to continue in that project. Okay, let's go down to, this might be a little out of the box, but on the bottom left of the picture is West High. Might be a little out of the box here. It's that kind of quiet little neighborhood down here that's got some rental houses and I think at least one vacant house.
Both sides of the street?
Both sides of the street. And again, this is just throwing it out on the, seeing what sticks. I mean, there may be an opportunity for us at some point to consider the redevelopment of that area, and maybe there's some sort of an incentive for
Well,
some way, somehow, some shape to, to turn that into a,
Brian, you circled the other end of the street down there too. You're including that in the discussion?
that little blue triangle down there on the right side? Yeah,
That's the same concept.
same concept. I don't have any grandiose ideas. It could be, as simple as, I don't know, I hate to say at this point, but, there may be a way to package incentives to get that turned into a vibrant residential community.
I would think we'd see how the Lotus property went first before we moved down the street.
And again, I think Kathleen even may have mentioned this a couple weeks ago. What are you working on now? What's on deck? And, what are you just trying to figure out and getting some ground level information? So you're right, Tony. I mean, who really knows which one of these things will click first, but, I want to make sure that those ideas are consistent amongst this group.
Well, I know Kathleen, there's a lot of interest in upscale townhouses down by the river, down in that area. There's a lot of interest from people. So, I mean, that's something we could look into.
And of course,
Brian, before you get off of those.
Yeah.
How many of those properties in those two quadrants are owned by, like a consortium like Scotty and?
I don't know, Dennis. I mean, that'd be something that, if we started nodding our heads, we'd have to do a little more research.
They're all individually owned. Scotty may own 2 properties down there.
Well, I know he owns
2.
them on both ends.
Yeah, well, he only
2 on this
owns, he
end.
only owns 1 or 2 down on the west end.
But on this end, he owns 2 that I know of for sure, and at least 1 down here.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I guess the distinction there is between landlords and home ownership. So
most of them are privately held.
Most of them on the left are privately held, and on the right is rental property, but not all on the right are rental property.
just an interesting dynamic. It's on each end of our downtown, and there might be some opportunities. I don't know what it is, but there could be.
It's a very quiet section of town. It's nice.
Yeah, beautiful. All right. And then I guess the last thing I wanted to throw out there, and we know this, but obviously we have the Park Plaza area. We have signed contracts with Scudder and Thomas. We will have one for the Union Hall. It's just because of the proximity that we don't have that at this point. We obviously now own the firehouse, which is directly adjacent to Park Plaza. And just to the north of those things are the old Firestone building, is it?
Yep.
And the post office, which we're not taking any action on at this time, but we did list them as properties of interest. So they still remain as potential interest. We also got back the second appraisal on the row houses. Those are
Was it?
2 units. Which is the corner, 146 or 140? One of them's 45,500 and the other one was 55,000.
55 was the end one, you said.
Okay.
last month.
I couldn't
I'd
remember
like
with
to
my notes
really
here.
go after those two.
So my question, I've talked to the property owner. They would like to negotiate on both pieces. So can you modify the motion to negotiate on the one to both of them?
Yeah.
That would be the only action I need tonight for that.
What's the addresses?
140 and 146. I just need to modify my authority to offer or make a,
Our attorney a question,
Yeah.
yes, he's not responding on that property for obvious reasons. I'm not trying to put you in a bag here.
You're okay.
You and I had a discussion about the two properties. Do you think they would entertain a price of like 60 or 70,000 for both?
I mean, that I wouldn't want to get involved with.
Well, I'm just asking, because I'm going on a conversation.
Yeah, I mean, I'm of course doing my best to stay out of the specific negotiations. I did, again, I tried to take back the easement, but we couldn't. I hired Eubank to try to do that, and the easement's valid. The conversations that I've had, of course, I've talked to my mom a little bit, but I've told her to just talk to Redevelopment, talk to any private industry or any private people that might be interested. Ron's here from 3rd and Main. I've talked to him, and I've talked to all you guys. So my impression is just that everyone here is kind of interested in the same thing. We just want to make sure that our development project comes first. I talked to Ron a little bit about before the meeting even, and he's here, you know, if you guys want to ask him questions, but
I'd like to stay on this topic for a second.
Well, with the row house,
right.
with the row house, just that, that's the priority for the redevelopment.
Well,
Okay, that's fine. That's, I mean, he
Well,
doesn't want the answer. Do you want to make an offer?
I do. No, I do. I want to make a suggestion to us. I think we should offer 65,000 for both.
And how much were they asking for both of them?
the appraisal, the combined
$100,500.
appraised value is $100,500.
What were they asking?
And I
They
didn't
haven't
take my
asked yet.
shoes off, so.
They haven't asked yet. Here's where my dilemma lies. I know what I sold them to them for, okay? I know to the dollar what I sold them to them for. And I think at $65,000, they would be satisfied, that they would be making some money for their couple of years' investment. And I'm not at all suggesting we go any higher than $65,000. And I would like to put that in the form of a motion.
Okay, so you want to make a motion to offer 65,000 for
both row houses.
both properties, 140 and 146 East High Street.
That's correct.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passed, so you can offer them that for now, Brian.
Now, that would automatically get us to 24 feet, right, Tony?
Yes. If we get 146.
Yeah.
146 is most important to us. The other one really doesn't matter.
Well, but there's people there, I think, that we could sell it to, or maybe somebody like Ron, or, I mean, you know,
We just need the one next to the parking lot.
yeah.
Last property that I just wanted to remind us of is what we call the old burned-out lot, and that's the vacant lot downtown, right next to Strong's, and then what's the name of the old?
It's Millie's, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. We can, by the.
Hey, I want to remind you, before you go any further on that lot, that is incorporated in the TIF as well. Just so you know, you don't have to look, it is.
Yes, it is.
I'm just saying, it's in the TIF.
So, that lot there, again, is a vacant city lot that would be prime for
With an alley in the middle.
first floor retail, second floor residential.
And
It's the kind of thing that-
Brian, just some history for you. After that fire, the city actually vacated that alley when they were going to do that development.
When Middle Earth
in
was
there.
gonna do it.
Middle Earth, that's right. And then after, a couple of years after that fell apart, they unvacated it.
Okay.
So we know it's something they have done in the past.
Right, so that was a feeble attempt at just trying to provide some of the additional projects that we have, around the town, what the city's kind of, not in a numeric value, but what the ask is from our perspective. And I think at this point, as I stated earlier, and then I'll sit down and, Mr. Chairman, you can, do what you want after that.
Okay.
But I do think that, we have a relationship, we've got to know you, and there may be an opportunity for us. So I think the ask from us is, how do you see yourself fitting in? What role might that be, whether it's, this big or this small, somewhere in there where you think that the value might be for our relationship. And I would also offer up this podium if you had some comments along those lines. Not otherwise, I think that,
Mr. Clausen
Just
had a
a
question.
second. I'll take care of it, Dennis. One thing I'd like to also add to that is there's one more lot where we had the city garden.
yeah, I have that on here. I
That's
just didn't mention it,
available.
yeah.
What I would like for you to do is have all of our lots and properties available to Kathleen, if you would, please. Just make a list of them up so she would have that. Alwyn, do you have something?
Olin Clausen, Utility Director for the City of Lawrenceburg. I think tonight is probably the first night that I'm a little frustrated with some of the things that I'm watching happen, and I'd say that with the best intentions. I think it's probably safe to say that 100% of the communities across the United States are all trying to solve one problem in each of their communities, and that is, how do we attract new community? How do we bring new ratepayers? How do we bring new taxpayers into the community and keep them here? And I know from the utility's perspective, the best way for the utility to be able to keep rates low and to keep them low for the longest possible amount of time is to continually add customers to the system. I mean, that's it. The same can be true about all the fixed costs that the city has. We have fixed costs for taking care of the parks, for mowing the green spaces, for doing all those kinds of things. The more people that we have contributing to that cost, the lower the cost is per person in order to do that. So I'm a huge proponent of the park. I think the park is going to be a fantastic thing. But in my personal opinion, if I had to pick between two of the projects, i.e. Maxwell or this other firm developing the Lotus site, from a business perspective and a sustainability perspective, I would select every time the Lotus property, because the Lotus property is in essence going to support things like the park. It's probably the park. If you want to bulletproof the plan for the downtown park, then you embrace a housing plan like this, because it only bolsters the reasons that you want to have these things, not to mention all of the businesses that we have in the downtown area. All of these things. How many times have we sat in this very chamber and listened to people say, if we could get more people downtown to support these businesses, if we could get people down here to go in the shops and to buy and to sell and to do these kinds of things, what a difference it would make. It would make a tremendous difference. And so I don't know, I know we have all these investments all over town, but if you back away from it and you look at what is going to provide us with the most sustainability for the long term, a development next door to the Lotus site, Tony, you hit the nail right on the head. If the Lotus site's a success, we may not have to invest a dime in the next development there, because somebody else that wants to make money is going to come in and situate themselves next to that. People are going to come in, and it's going to, instead of selling lots for $1 and trying to entice people in, the properties are going to have value and they're going to be competitive. And people are going to come here and want to have those properties. You know, I've been here for 2.5 years, and one of the biggest struggles that I've had from the beginning coming here and even till today is trying to find a quality place to live. I know that sometimes we think there's an abundance of that, but to be honest with you, there's not. there's not an abundance of housing in Lawrenceburg specifically, but in the area primarily. And housing is one way, quality housing especially, is one way that we're going to be able to achieve that. And secondly, we have a lot of kids that are being raised in this area, in these communities, that are graduating from these schools and going on to other places and going to college. There are a lot of jobs in the tri-state area, but there isn't a lot of housing. And if these kids want to come back to Dearborn County and they want to be raised in this community where they were raised, we better be thinking about some ways to provide housing for them, housing that's acceptable for them. Because if we don't, another community is going to, and they're going to get our best and our brightest, and they're going to contribute to those communities and not ours. And our schools are going to languish, and our businesses are going to languish. Secondly, when people come here and live here, especially if they're from here, and we give them a jumping off point, because really and truly that's what the Lotus site would be, is people making anywhere from $40,000 to $100,000 a year, an initial place to start out. The chances of us retaining them in this community once they're married and want a home is much, much greater than if we're trying to pull them from someplace else, West Cincinnati or Ohio or some other place. If we keep them in the community and raise them up in the community and let them mature in the community, build homes in the community, we're going to keep them here and we're going to grow and we're going to prosper. And so I would hope that this board would reconsider how aggressive we are about the Lotus property. Because if we've had two people in the door, and I think it's a shame that the Maxwell property, that we didn't do more with that. And I don't know the reasons why we didn't, but it's a shame that we didn't. But I would hope that this board would see that project for what it is, and that they would be very serious about courting that type of a project. We're fortunate as hell that we've had two people come to us, to our community, and want to do something like that. And that's all I have.
Well, that's why we're here tonight, is to be aggressive and to move on these properties, because we've just been sitting and kind of dormant and not making any moves. And that's why we'd like to talk to Kathleen. I mean, it is Kathleen, right? I keep Catherine or Kathleen.
Well,
so
I'd like to
move
comment,
forward.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to comment to Mr. Clausen's comment. I've never said this publicly before, but I'm the one that brought the project to Lawrenceburg on the Lotus project. I called Brian, I did my due diligence. I'm on the Redevelopment Commission, they contacted me, I met with them. They told me exactly what they wanted to do here. They talked about the parameters of that project and that lot. They knew a great deal about Lawrenceburg. They had done their studies, they'd done a lot of due diligence. They have the income for, this is not a government housing type thing. This is a $75,000 to $150,000 income dual property. The people that go into that property and live there work over at the Amazon or at the different places in the community, and they would live in Lawrenceburg. They would shop in Lawrenceburg. They would be part of that foot traffic that Kathleen talked about last month at our meeting. We're talking about 170 units to 250 units. I called Brian. I explained to Brian basically what I'm explaining today. We met. We invited them in. They came to Redevelopment. They came to Brian's office. I included Paul in the meeting. I felt it was important that I have someone from council there because I know how Lawrenceburg works. It's going to take approval for council to do anything on that scale. So we met, and it was a good meeting, and they asked for permission to go back and start doing some building of a concept. They came back in about 3 or 4 months, and they said they were ready to make a presentation. I wasn't able to go to that meeting because I had a heart issue and a medical issue. But I talked to Brian. Brian had it set up. Brian's secretary, Kelly's been handling it with them. These people are out of Indianapolis. They have 33 properties all over Indiana, Ohio. I mean, in this whole footprint here. They do this for a living. They're very, very good at what they do. They've got the credentials. And they met with Brian. I asked Brian how the meeting went, and I asked him if the mayor was there. He said yes. And I said, what did the mayor think of it? He said he liked it. I mean, that's basically how it went. In the interim, I've asked Brian a couple of times, is there anything new going on with it? Tony, I ran into you guys in my parking lot over at Main Street, and Mary and I were doing mulch, and you guys were with Kathleen, and you had just finished your tour, and I asked Brian that day, I said, you know, what are we doing? I said, has council been made aware of this project? And I said, also, is redevelopment going to be made aware of this project? And I feel, as a member of redevelopment, I felt uncomfortable with not sharing it with, I'm sorry, but I haven't shared it with the other members because I thought I was doing my job. But let me finish. I think I agree with Owen 100%. Now, Brian said a few minutes ago that it was a $10 million project. I don't know that that's the bottom line number, that that's what it is. I don't think we've gone to the next step with them, but they are very, very serious about coming here. And I think we should at least run that out a little bit and find out what's involved.
Well, this is the way that I feel.
Okay.
You have one company.
I don't have any company.
Well, you've talked to them, invited them down, and they've...
No, I
spoken.
invited them to see Mr. Messmore in
Okay.
redevelopment.
So why not, as a board, we go out for RFPs and we get more of them in, and we get our best bang for our buck, instead of just going for... Lawrenceburg has done this for years, and we've been bitten in the butt 9 out of 10 times. We go out for RFPs, and we get the best bang for our
Why
buck.
don't we share it with council and redevelopment, let them see the plan that they brought forward?
That's what we're starting to do now.
We have a plan in front of us, Tony.
That's one plan, that's what I'm saying.
I understand, but can't we share that with council and with redevelopment?
You can if you want, but then you're going just...
No, I can't, because I don't have it.
Do you have it, Brian?
On my table.
It's on your table. Well, you're welcome to share it, but it would be my advice not to accept anything from one until we go out for RFPs and different ideas. Because there might be another company out there with a greater idea.
RFPs are fine.
Well, I think it's probably maybe painfully obvious now, the way this has been handled, but, you know, people are making great points here tonight. You know, if it's time to move that piece of property up to the next level, then let's just say it and we'll get doing it. I can't speak freely about some other things, but there are also some other projects that are going on in the community that not everybody's aware of that are potential significant dollar investments. So not, from a confidential standpoint. So there are other things going on. It's just not what you see in front of you. Okay? I'm not reluctant to share anything with anybody. I just didn't think it was the appropriate time based on the amount of things that are going on in the city.
Well, I don't think
Now,
we should
if you
share.
feel differently, you're more than welcome to bring it up, and we can reevaluate the priority and move it up.
We've opened the door here, Tim.
Okay, that's what I just said.
I agree with you, Brian. And for us not to open it all the way, I think is negligent on this council's level as well.
But do you think it's proper to bring in one company and one view of what should go there before you go out for RFPs? That's my question to you.
Listen, you're putting me in a scenario that I have to make a decision and an answer on something we both know I don't want to do because I believe in the RFQs. I went through it with the park process.
Then that's the way
I'm
we should do it.
100% there. These people called, I brought them to Brian, we had the meeting, they did some plans. If we wanted to do RFQs, then we should have brought it to this council at that time.
Well, you could have always brought it up. Go
I'm
ahead.
bringing it up now.
That's fine. For RFPs.
Tony, I'm bringing it up right now.
Are you bringing it up for RFPs, or are you bringing it up for one company to come in to show us their plans?
Mr. Chairman,
That's what I want to know.
Mr. Chairman,
I don't think that's the answer.
Mr. Chairman, on a project like this, which is similar to other projects that are being proposed within the city, it isn't necessarily something that you have to go down the RFP process for. This is something that can be vetted independently with Maxwell, for example. I'm going to use Maxwell example. If Maxwell came into the city and said, look, I want to bring my own investment to this. I want to invest my dollars in this. Can I buy the property, and this is what it's going to look like. These are the people I want to try to bring here, and all I want in return is if there's TIF available or if there's utilities can be contributed to it, these are the kinds of things that I want to do. And I'm even willing to pay a price for the property, an appraised value for the property, but this is what I want to do. This is different than a city-owned project where you would solicit an RFP from multiple different vendors and then select the best engineering firm or whatever else. if someone comes to you with a project that's an independent standalone project that's unique, the city or redevelopment or whomever can approach that on a one-on-one basis. And I think what we're talking about here is I'm guessing a $45 to $55 million investment.
That's correct.
Somewhere in the neighborhood of that. If someone wants to bring $55 million of private investment to your community, I don't think you turn around and say, that's a great thing, but let us RFP this and see if there's 10 other people that want to bring $55 million community. I think you can go through the process with that one company, and if there's red flags and things that you don't like, you throw that company out. You just don't do the project. But I think that you run the risk.
Just so you know, I heard from Derek from the company that's there. Maxwell has called him, Randy Maxwell, and they went to college together, as it turns out. And Randy Maxwell is asking.
I'm not following, I don't know the names.
Well, I'm just saying, Randy Maxwell has offered to go into the project with them. That's how excited they got about it.
With the other company?
With the other company out of Indianapolis, that's correct.
I just.
See how things change? That's why I want to go out for RFPs. Now we got two different people going at it instead of one company coming in.
No, we don't.
Let's move on with our agenda.
We don't
here.
have two people going at anything here. We're just talking about scenarios, Tony, and this is the type of discussion that leads to more discussion, not to people
The final thing
making...
I'll say is an RFP process is reserved for a city project start to finish, things like that. You don't deal with the private sector on private investment through an RFP process. To do that, you run the risk of losing that opportunity. They would take offense. If I were them in a company, I would take offense to having that turned into an RFP process.
I would take offense because we've been burnt so many times.
They want to burn their $55 million in this town.
Okay, anything else, Brian?
No.
Okay. Kathleen, please. Urban Fast Forward.
Yes, sir. And I brought with me John Young, who is the Senior Project Executive at Urban Fast Forward. John is a planner. He was with the city of Bellevue, Kentucky, and then he was Assistant City Manager with the Village of Yellow Springs. So he's a certified planner with municipal experience. And I found it fascinating. I thought Olin made a number of good points. I think you can do RFPs or not RFPs. I think you have a very interesting and strong company interested in investing in your community, and I think that is an exceptionally positive sign for Lawrenceburg. I agreed with what Olin said about housing. We talk very often in our work about the housing ladder, that you have to bring people in, young people, through the kind of housing that they want to live in. Once they embed themselves in your community, they'll never leave. All their amenities are here, all their friends are here, their bike path is here, their yoga studio, their coffee house, their pizza parlor. But they have to come in because the housing they want is here. And I haven't done a housing analysis of Lawrenceburg, but I'm pretty sure that you are thin on that kind of housing. The chairman talked about the lack of senior housing. That's another very strong population that will live in an urban environment and that will use urban amenities. But when I listen to you talk about RFP versus not RFP and how to do this, what I think is you need more planning. You basically need more planning, because it's easy to jump into an opportunity and then think to yourself, damn, we should have given that just a little more time. We maybe should have put something else ahead of that. We maybe should have put our stake in the ground here and it would have been more decisive. What you're looking for is a way to catalyze your community. What you're looking for is a way to make your community everybody's community of choice instead of the communities on either side or in that direction. Why do I come to Lawrenceburg? Why is Lawrenceburg more delightful than Aurora? What makes this community better than that other one 3 miles away? That's what you're looking for. You're looking for how to make this the community that doesn't get left behind. And that takes some planning, and that's really what we do. What are we going to do for you? I don't know yet. We're going to think about it. We're going to walk your streets a little bit. We're going to wander around and look at things. John does a lot of research. We're going to do that. Brian's asked us to come back with a proposal, we will. But I think our proposal is going to be about figuring out what the most important priorities are, and then in what order we attack them. And they involve things other than just what you put on your available land. They involve how you position this community as distinctive in the marketplace. And that can be quite small. When John was doing research about Lawrenceburg, he said, what is it, John? Whiskey?
Whiskey, yeah.
What is it? What's the name? What do you call yourself, Whiskey?
Whiskey City.
Whiskey City. Where is that? If I'm a young person, where is that? Where's that brand? Where do I see that? Where does that feel like fun? Where does that make Lawrenceburg distinctive? And yet, a mile from here, there's a distillery. Where's that history? So we look at things like that too. We look at what makes Lawrenceburg, what is the personality of Lawrenceburg, and how do we convey that this is the most delightful community in which to work. And if you take that deal that you're talking about with the 150 housing units, that may be a great deal, but that developer is going to be looking for that same thing. Because they're going to be saying, what is Lawrenceburg going to do to help me fill that housing so that Olin can sell his utilities? So that's what we do. And we're going to think about it a little bit. And we will come back to you with a proposal because I think this is a terrific community and we would love to be part of helping you catalyze a positive future. You must have a question. You always have a question.
I really don't.
Okay. Sir?
Anyone else? Paul?
No,
Okay, well, I'd just like to make sure Mr. Mesmore gets a list of all of our available properties, and so that you have that, you can see at least what we have to work with for now and the near future, and all your ideas.
I do have a comment for you, though. You couldn't let it go, could you? I'd like for you to contact the people in Indianapolis and talk to them and tell them what you've came here today for. I think they'd be interested. I'm talking about the people with the housing complex. They're great guys. I mean, they really are. Several properties in Cincinnati.
I'd like to know which of the great guys you talked to, because I know some of them, so I'd like to know which great guy you talked to.
Flannery and Collins.
No,
is
I
the
know,
name of
but
the
which
company.
one there? Did you talk
Well, I
to Jim?
talked to
Did you
the-
talk to, which one?
I talked to their counsel,
Okay.
to Kentner.
Okay.
So general counsel. But I would like you to share this information with them. I think that this would even encourage them stronger, more, to have somebody like you and you guys with your credentials to say you're looking at Lawrenceburg under the same eye. They assured us in the meeting with Brian and with Paul Seymour that they had done their market studies. They didn't just jump into this.
Oh, no, they're very careful.
Yeah, they're very careful. And I was very impressed with them personally, but I'm not for jumping off any cliffs either. But I am for exposing the opportunities that we have.
Yeah, and I'd love to see their housing.
That's all I was bringing up today.
I'd love to see their housing
Was exposing the
study,
opportunities.
because their housing studies are usually very well done.
Yeah.
And I'd love to see their market research.
Yeah.
And they're a good company, and they're working in Cincinnati. But the chairman is also right. There
And
are-
Kentucky.
And there are other companies out there.
Oh, I'm sure.
So, and Olin is right in saying if we get one project going with your money, our goal is to catalyze the private market, so that you can take your money and do the things that the private market will not do. But I really think you're talking about making a plan. And that's what we do.
That's what we haven't had for the last 20 years. There's a plan.
Well, life can be like that, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My pleasure, thank you.
Anybody from the audience?
You want to go first?
That's okay.
State your name, please.
Ron Sweeney. Some of you do, or most of you don't know that I own 3rd and Main down in Aurora, Indiana. A restaurant 3 miles down the road. So,
How many miles?
So what you may not know is I come from about 40 years of real estate background. So then I got pulled into the restaurant business 5 years ago because of my kids. So what I did previously, for 15 years, I was vice president of development for John Niehaus, who developed Aston Oaks, which is the largest master plan community in the greater Cincinnati area. Built the Jack Nicklaus Golf Course and a lot of different moving components. And then after I left that, I was the land acquisition manager for the Dries Company, probably one of the largest builders in this marketplace, and most of those are kind of brand names. And I just want to say and kind of reaffirm what Olin says. You know, I have sat in those meetings with consultants and looking at, you know, where do we go? You know, I've sat with, you know, CFOs of the company and talked to, you know, there's not too many boardrooms that I haven't been in. But housing inventory in this marketplace is in really, is in a really sad position. There is just not an opportunity down here, you know, and I think this board, you know, I say in power, to really maybe do a housing study and just see what is the need out there from a housing standpoint, what price points, you know, affordability-wise, and kind of help you do the planning that needs to be done to kind of, you know, prepare what's, you know, coming down the road. Because, you know, we went to Aurora, you know, and created a destination. We pull people from all over the tri-state areas. You know, why do we do it? Because we set ourselves apart in a restaurant, not in the city of Aurora. People don't come to the city of Aurora, but they come to our restaurant. So I totally agree with what Olin said. You know, you know, it's stepping stones. You know, you need to take that first step. But, you know, having, you know, a piece of property that you can take to, you know, some of the bigger developers in Cincinnati, that, you know, having them come here is a positive, you know, and if there's any way to get it to happen, you know, I think it behooves you guys to try to make that happen. Like I said, I come from a real estate background, not a restaurant background. So after 40 years in this business, you know, I see a lot of things that, you know, planning is, she's dead on. Planning is a key, you know, not planning today, planning 25 years down the road. Where do you want to be? So that's just my couple cents.
Thank you. Mr. Seymour?
I just wrote down a few notes. When we're talking about the lot next to Strom's, if we're going to get people interested in these lots, I mean, we got some problems in some of our lots that seem to come up and bite us when we're ready. One of the problems on that particular lot would be that, I don't know how it happened, but on the Strom's building, which is owned by Davis, we've got several encroachments on that piece of property that we might want to market, that right now we couldn't market if we wanted to because of air conditioning units and stairways. So what are we going to do? We going to start bringing that up and putting call on that and try to get that cured, or are we going to wait till the last minute? You know, if redevelopment owns that lot right now, then redevelopment should not be happy with what someone has done the last, I don't know if it's been 2 years or 10 years, but there are some things over there that need to be taken care of.
Well, a lot of that goes back before, before the fire, because there was that alcove back there, and that's where it was all dumped all the time.
But
I'm just saying that's how it got to that.
But we need to clean it up.
I agree.
Because we, you know, so that stuff needs to be up on a roof, or needs to be different things done to it. And I think right now is the time we need to try to get it and get it done. I don't think it'll happen, but I think we need to have a paper trail that we are making an effort to do that. Because right now, what we would be doing would be handing that over to the buyer of that property. Now all of a sudden he's saying, oh, I didn't know that. You know, he finds it all out as he's wanting to do things, and now he can't do it. that's enough on that property, but, vacant house on West High Street. You know, I think that, Tony,
Which one?
well, as you're going down West High on the left-hand side, on the levee side, the river side, there's a big, nice two-story home there. It's not nice anymore. People are not gonna be able to afford it. I think the bank has it. It's sitting there, and to me, that's one of them that probably makes sense to put out for appraisals or talk to the bank to see what you can do, even if you was gonna sit on it. And the reason why I think that is Tony, in 2009, you know, we had a vacant piece of property. That's turned out to be one of the nicer part of town.
Yep.
I think West High Street, I think you're right on the money. I think you go over there and get a few lots. Now, all of a sudden, it wasn't that long ago, we had an interested buyer in that piece of property, and he really wanted to do something there, and he ended up going to Hidden Valley. Now, if you put one $300,000 house there, I never thought it was possible, but I bet you're gonna end up with two. So that's how you start that seed down there on the other end of town. We went down Martin Luther King, we're doing them on Short Street, we're doing them everywhere in town now, so I'm not so sure that we should be ignoring that house that's been sitting there a year and a half.
Well, we could put a $450,000, $500,000 house.
Well, that's my point. I don't know why we're not looking at that piece of property and at least in a way to possibly pursue it. That might lead, and as far as your questions for those other owners, they own two down there and they own three at the other end on West High.
So it's three down here, the other end.
Three on east and two on west. I hope they get dealt with a little bit different this time.
Wasn't there an issue where they were gonna put another gate in there at one time?
Ain't gonna be no more
But there's
gates
not gonna be
put
a
in that
gate,
levee.
right? Okay. But that was the issue, right?
They'll never allow it.
Okay.
I'm saying that, I'm pretty sure about it, but here's another point, and I'll cross US 50 and do the Main Street project. You know, 5, 6, 7 years ago, I was asked to sit on the historical committee. We did a housing map, historical housing maps. I picked out things across 50 around town, nice houses. They said, no, we're not going to do them yet. Well, you know what, you're going to do them or you ain't. There's a couple things I never did like about that corner project. I'm actually glad somebody's interested in that house. Tony, me and you talked about it. I like these old brick homes. Sitting over there in that area are a whole lot of really nice houses. Guys, I would have to personally know what project was going in that area before I thought about tearing some of them houses down, because they're some of the better looking homes in Lawrenceburg, and I'm sure at one time that was the gateway to Lawrenceburg, coming down that road. Those houses are really, really nice. They're very old, so I would encourage to everybody look in that area over there, because there are some fine brick homes over there. Some of them, Tony, the one that's that might have got sold 3 days ago, take a real good look at that home. It's as straight as can be.
Yeah.
Across from the Red Cross.
Well, a little bit down, a little bit back towards 50 from the Red Cross on the opposite side.
When you turn and go, well,
It's a second house from the curve.
Napa, right? Towards the 50.
1, 2.
In that area, you're going to find some really, really nice brick homes, guys. Now, I ain't much of a fan with a house with vinyl siding and aluminum on it that's running down. I know there ain't nothing behind it. There's a reason why they put the stuff on there. But when you got a good old brick home with some decent brickwork and some work around the windows, and one of them houses that's got the scallops on the gable, those houses shouldn't ever be tore down. We put a historical map on there for a reason, so I would encourage, I know, Dad, you're on it, I would like to see us come across there and mark some of them homes, because I got a feeling, and take a good look at them homes. There's 4 or 5 homes in that area that are second to none in this town. real fine homes, could be beautiful homes. So those are some of the things I'd like to say. That's it. There's nothing wrong. I wonder how come we need to ask for what project is it so that I would be interested in getting appraisals. I mean, secret, no secret, if I just would want to know.
Anyone else? Anything from the board?
It's a very small board.
Yes, it is. Now,
Very old,
I'm willing to accept them.
very old.
And I'm willing to take motion for adjournment then.
Need a place to live, too.
That's senior home.
He's looking for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Motion by Paul, second by